Welcome to Product Momentum, a community of thought leaders and learners coming together to celebrate the product people who are shaping our way ahead. Inspired by our most pressing questions and insightful guests, we'll explore the challenges you face and offer practical, hands-on guidance your team can implement today. This is Product Momentum. Here are your hosts, Sean Flaherty and Paul Gable.
Really excited for this interview with Tami Reiss. She has so much experience in the product space. She was gracious. We ran into her here at Industry. I've known her for a few years. Really brilliant mind.
This was the energy podcast.
It was
like,
high energy.
Be ready, strap in. Like this is an intense one, right?
Yeah.
If you like talking with hands, this is the one to listen to.
She is passionate.
Yeah.
And she knows so much about the product space. She's coached product leaders for many, many years. There's a lot of depth in this podcast. Let's get after it.
Let's do it. Tami Reiss is a product strategy leader with over almost 20 years of experience working with tech companies to define their product strategy and set up product organizations to scale, right? Recently doing a lot of coaching. So like my first question is going to be, why do product leaders need a coach?
Everybody needs a coach for anything they're doing.
Okay.
If you think about the athletic world, you could be Michael Phelps, and he still has not one, but probably a dozen coaches he's working with. And the reason for that is what a coach does is they are looking at the field, or in his case, the pool, and they're watching you as the player from an outsider perspective. And they're saying, okay, I'm seeing everything that's going on, the competition,
Sure.
the market as it's changing.
Other product leaders.
Other companies, and what I see you doing isn't properly the best thing you could be doing. It's probably great, but there's an opportunity to be better, to be more awesome, to be more efficient, to be more effective. And as a coach, you're still on the sidelines. You can't do it for the person. But what you can do is say, hey, if you make this adjustment to the way you say this, if you change this mindset in the way you're approaching this, you will be more successful.
Awesome.
And it's really nice to have that person, but beyond that, it's great to have a sounding board, because the higher up we get in our careers, the less we can turn to our bosses for advice. Either because they've never had our job, especially in product, or because you don't want them to lose confidence in your ability. So you want to be able to talk to someone who's been there, done that, who's seen multiple different games,
Yeah.
and is able to provide you unbiased advice about how you can make your pitch a little better.
Yeah. If I ever get back into rugby coaching, that's how I'm going to explain what I'm doing.
There you go. Things to try.
My job is to help you do your job better.
Yeah. Right?
What I met Tami at previous industry events.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of conversations
now.
over the years. Yeah, it's been great getting to know you. And what I think is fascinating about you is you've been a product coach for like 11 years, which is pretty much the length that the industry's been in existence, right?
So it's interesting. So I've technically only been product leader coach under my own shingle for, I think we're going on 3.5 years.
Okay.
But prior to that, I was working within Insight Partners with their portfolio company as a product leader coach.
Yeah.
And years prior, I ran a consultancy where I was the product coach for all of our clients. And before that, I was at Pivotal Labs, where the product management consultants, we called ourselves player coaches. Because what we were doing was we were doing a little bit of the work, but we were always paired up with another product leader or product manager, and we were coaching them in how to become more agile, how to become more lean. And so I've been doing that for a long time. Right.
Tremendous amount of experience that you bring to the table. So I'm excited that we have this opportunity.
Thank you.
Share some of your knowledge with the world. So what do you see as the top problems in our space today? Like, what are the biggest mistakes being made by product leaders today?
So I think one of the biggest mistakes product leaders are making is that they are not focusing on making sure there is a clearly defined vision, which is a story, not a goal, a vision, which is a story of the future that you are trying to create out in the world. and that it should be communicated in a way with pictures or visual imagery. It's a vision so that people can internalize what the world will look like because of the things they are building, because of the products they are supporting, because of the features they are selling or marketing. And when you have that, everything else becomes easier. And it's worth the investment in time. It's hard.
Yeah. Do you have any
And
examples?
it's scary.
Do you have any examples of a great product vision? This is a great conversation.
So I work with a company that, of all things, they build software that helps you put photovoltaic panels out. They work with engineers who are planning for like massive solar farms. And their vision is to make it easier and more effective to have a solar farm and be able to more accurately predict what that will provide so that a company who's choosing to make an investment has a better idea of the ROI they're going to get out of it. How many kilowatts are they getting out of this investment? And they see a big problem in the market that a lack of accuracy is a problem. And they're working on saving the world. Let's be clear, right?
That's awesome.
The more solar panels we have powering things and batteries, et cetera, like that's a great thing.
So a great vision, if I test my understanding here, is about creating a space, a story that people can step into that shows them what the future will look like, which allows for a lot of creativity.
Not necessarily even the future, just what does the world look like?
Yeah.
It's possible that
the
what
end
your product does is it helps somebody not be in front of their computer playing with your product.
All right.
Right? It helps them get out into the world, be with their family, get on vacation, right? Like a lot of the tools around travel industry, the vision you're creating isn't how easy it is for me to book my plane ticket. It's that I can actually go on vacation with my family or friends. And it's the vacation I want to go on.
Yeah.
At the price point I want to pay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The best visions, those long-term aspirational goals, don't necessarily have to be like tethered by reality either, right? You want to talk about what is it? Google's is like access to the world's information in one click.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Instagram's is share and capture capture and share the world's moments, right?
Yeah.
So world, right?
And they can shift. This is something that I think people miss, is that just because you have a vision, if it's not working, you can shift it. And I talk about how Tinder, which we're all familiar with, their original vision statement had to do with connecting, being a modern connection engine.
Right.
And what they realized was their actual vision was for more people to meet in a world where it was getting harder to meet and to have real connections, which meant actually going on a date and having coffee or a drink or going to a concert together. And so they changed their vision statement to include real connections. And that changed their whole algorithm and their whole what they built, but it also changed their trajectory. Because when they started investing in the vision they wanted, which actually delivered customer value, which was more than just an online connection, it was an actual date that might lead to a long-term partnership, they became more viral. They had more stories that they could tell of their success.
I do think it's important that the vision is, you're able to tell the vision in the context of a story. Talk about that a little bit. Why do you think that's important?
People love stories.
Yeah.
That's what we remember. That's what inspires us. John Doerr, father of OKRs, recently gave a TED Talk and he just flat out said, we're all doing it wrong. He was like, OKRs have become ubiquitous and the vast majority of people are doing them wrong because the intention was for them to be inspirational and aspirational. And most people are just saying revenue or churn or something else. And no one gets excited by that. No. Not even your CFO.
No one gets up in the morning with a spring in their step saying, hey, I can't wait to go make money for the
what did
boss
Matt say?
or the shareholders.
Matt LeMay said, you're on the right track with setting your objectives when you're uncomfortable.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I don't know.
That's right.
I don't know if this is
when you got a
possible.
50-50 shot at this, right?
I used to talk about how product managers have to balance two really big things, which is hubris and humility. Hubris that you could do something no one else has ever done. And the humility that whatever you're thinking you're doing is probably wrong. And still do it anyways.
Got to maintain a growth
because
mindset.
that's how we learn.
Yeah.
Like my 4.5-year-old will tell you, mistakes are how we learn. And the more we can help create cultures where that's okay, where it's okay to make a mistake.
As long as you're learning.
Yes, and to define what failure looks like. I was coaching a VP of product the other day who said, well, what if I fail? And I said, tell me what you think you might fail at. And she said, well, I'm pitching the investors on the board to give me a few $1 million to invest in my product. And what if they say no? And I said, that's not failure.
There's something to learn there.
Failure is showing up ill-prepared.
Oh, yeah.
Failure is not taking this opportunity to build more trust and confidence in you as a leader. Failure is not having a clear story that you're telling. If they choose to invest in something else, that's okay. They're making a business decision, right?
Yeah, no, I got it.
But you also have to, therefore, have defined success.
Yeah.
And success is having the executives.
It does have. And giving you, if they give you feedback, if they tell you what would change their minds or what would cause them to invest in it, like you have something, you're going in there with something to learn, right? So.
And if you don't get that investment and you've actually built that trust, they might put you on another team. It doesn't mean you're out of a job.
All right.
But if you show up ill-prepared,
that's a failure.
You don't get the investment and you probably don't get switched.
And you probably did some damage to your reputation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's not what we want.
I had an experience working with a client where we were kind of flailing on a product for a little bit, right? And so I took the opportunity to say, like, look, I'm just gonna. There's no vision or objectives for this product. I'll write the vision stack, right? And we did that exercise. They liked it. They said, hey, dive a little deeper into what that roadmap looks like. We put that together for them. And it turned out in the end, they're like, well, that costs way too much money and it's not one of our top priorities. So we're just not going to do it because you have described the right way to do it, but we're not going to take the time to invest in that. But whatever you just did, we want you to go and do for every other product you're going to work on for us, right? Describe it to us this way, right? So we failed, but we earned that trust and we learned.
And you learned something.
Yeah.
And you'd probably save the company a bunch of money because they didn't go down the rabbit hole and do the iterations to not get the result they wanted anyway.
That's what Matt was talking about. Like when you're trying to figure out trade-offs, which of these is actually going to deliver the value you want?
Right.
Just start there. You don't need any additional frameworks.
Yeah.
Which is going to deliver the most value?
Impact.
Impact.
But
you can't understand and evaluate impact unless you know where you want to go. What are you trying to impact? What are you trying to get closer to?
There you go. Yeah. All right, so that's one problem. What's another problem you see?
Not enough understanding of finance.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
The biggest jump I see product leaders have to make in order to become executives is to understand how to translate customer value to business value.
Ooh.
NPS, some investors understand. Churn, they all understand. Retention, they all understand. Net revenue retention, they love. If you don't know what any of those things are, they don't love you.
Yeah.
And the sooner you can learn to take your strategy and your impact and translate it into business how is this helping the business? Yeah. How is this helping grow revenue? How is this helping keep revenue? How is this helping us decrease costs?
Yeah.
If you have PLG motion, it sounds fantastic to product people. What investors want to hear is that you're lowering CAC or that you're enabling land and expand or net revenue retention. That is what they want to know.
Yeah.
And the sooner you can start talking in that frame of reference, the sooner they will start trusting you to lead the team with one of the largest budgets.
I think there's also a skill set around this in the same vein here around fluency of time horizons. Like you need to understand the difference between short-term metrics and the business and long-term metrics and the business. And if the better job you can understand how to communicate that.
Yeah. And it's like cash flow versus actual business value.
And lifetime value and
the fact that a service revenue dollar is worth 1/10 of an ARR dollar.
Yeah.
And if you can speed up things like getting a company, one of your clients, to go from booked to build, there's high value there.
Sure.
And I can't tell you how many product people have no idea what I just meant.
Yeah. So,
but I learned that in like 2009 from a CFO. I was trying to pitch a CEO the order of how I wanted to roll out features based on what I said was customer value. And I wasn't getting through. But I was randomly sitting with the CFO talking about it, and he said, wait a minute, if you do that, then we'll be able to start billing clients 6 to 9 months earlier. And all of a sudden,
Light bulbs.
and my order made sense.
Yeah.
But
Time horizons. Fluency.
I fell into that, right? The mistakes we make, we learn.
Yeah. I think, especially at industry this year, we're talking a little bit more about revenue, right? And actually like attaching revenue to your pitches and to making it a more normal part of your lexicon. Why?
Because too many product managers are getting fired for not delivering business value and not communicating their business value.
Yeah. Yeah, the lid is off, right? Like the VC money, the undying VC money is gone. We're not letting Google and Apple determine what our product management practices are going to be anymore. There's no longer just this just focus on the user, only take care of the user, delight the user.
Doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
You'll figure out profit later.
That does not work later. Yeah.
It's so funny because I've always worked in B2B software. And that's never what you can do in B2B software. Like you have to be delivering value that someone's willing to pay for.
Or you're done.
Yeah.
It's a very different market.
And not only do they have to be willing to pay for it, they have to be willing to continue to pay for it.
Yeah.
You have to continuously create more value for them to fulfill more of their needs.
Over time, your value proposition has to improve. Can't stay static.
I'm very utilitarian.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed B2B software.
Love that.
I'm very bad at what's cool.
Okay, so number one, vision, storytelling around vision, giving people a space to step into that allows you to tap into their creativity as a product leader. Number two, making sure you understand the business mechanics, like fluency of finance, financial terms, how you're measuring things in both the short term and the long term. What's number three?
Inorganic growth.
Inorganic growth.
Product people have spent their entire careers finding problems, building solutions for problems, launching solutions for problems, iterating on said solution for problem. Inorganic growth means sometimes you're not going to be the person to build the solution. It means you might have to acquire. It might mean you have to partner.
Sure, yeah.
It might mean you get acquired or you sunset and you sell a piece of your business off to somebody else. And inorganic growth is about the business growth. It's not about your product growth, it's about your business growth, which is why you have to understand the finance stuff first.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes a market opportunity is best served by bringing in someone else's technology.
Sure, you don't have to build everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes sense to buy it, plug it in,
when I worked at Inside Partners, very often we'd be hiring in CPOs for growth stage companies. And the question very often was, well, why can't we just upgrade the VP of product? Why can't we teach them the skills they might be missing? And more often than not, what they were missing was M&A.
Sure.
And M&A is not something you want to take a novice to.
Right. It's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
It's always a challenge.
And very often we would be bringing in a CPO who had experience, not just integrating after an acquisition or a merger, but actually being strategic, being part of the due diligence conversations, understanding the opportunities that are available, understanding the finances around that.
Yeah.
And if you have any opportunity to take part in any M&A activity, even as a fly on the wall, go do it.
You learn a lot.
Because they are rare experiences and you will learn a
so
ton.
Much. Yeah.
And you will stand out amongst the crowd.
Yeah, you will. Awesome. So, Tami, what are you reading these days? What's got you excited? What are you learning?
I'm learning about negotiation.
Chris Voss?
Chris Voss.
Yeah, Never Split the Difference. Great book.
Never Split the Difference. If you're not familiar with this book, which Sean and I obviously love, it is written by an ex-FBI CIA negotiator.
Yeah. Yep. Hostage negotiator.
Who in that case, there's no middle ground.
Right. There's no.
You don't get half a person back.
Nope.
And the tactics he uses for influence are so valuable in any sort of negotiation. And when we think about influence without authority in product, there are so many lessons to be learned there.
Yeah. The number one thing I remember from that book is you got to connect first. It's one of my mantras, connection before content. And it plays out in hostage negotiations. He's really figured this thing out. It's really cool. You You got to read the book. It's a great book.
Yeah, and that connection builds empathy.
Yeah.
So that you can mirror the person, so that you can understand what incentivizes them, what drives them. And that's what we do as product people. When we're working with our stakeholders, our internal partners, our customers, we are trying to build empathy for them, to connect with them, to understand what they want and how we can align to theirs.
There's no negotiation without understanding incentives. None.
And
Knowing
so
people's
that's another
concerns.
thing, incentives. And because I work in B2B software, not enough product people understand the incentives of a sales structure. Understand how your salespeople get paid, how they hit their quota, when they hit their quota, what their bonuses are, what their accelerators are. And if all these words are foreign, go talk to your sales buddies.
It'll explain exactly the rhino problem, the real high value new opportunity that comes in the door, and like why they're so strongly pitching that you have to build this feature.
Why they have recency bias, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they have a quota to reach right now. And if they don't, they might be on the chopping block.
Yeah.
All right, the last thing that we ask all of our guests, how do you define innovation?
Ooh, how do I define innovation? I believe, and I say I believe because I do not think this is a one answer, I know this is the only answer. I believe innovation is the result of looking at a problem from a different perspective than it has previously been looked at, and providing a solution which may be new, maybe from another place, maybe something else, that solves the problem in like a 10x way.
Okay.
Right? Like so much better than anyone ever thought it could be solved. That to me is innovation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've been trying to get you on for a while, so I'm glad we were finally able to make it happen.
Thank you, Cleveland.
Thank you so much for being here and for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Super fun.
Awesome.
Sean and Sean.
This was awesome.
Sean Squared.
Sean Square.
Well, that's it for today. In line with our goals of transparency and listening, we really want to hear from you. Sean and I are committed to reading every piece of feedback that we get, so please leave a comment or a rating wherever you're listening to this podcast. Not only does it help us continue to improve, but it also helps the show climb up the rankings so that we can help other listeners move, touch, and inspire the world just like you're doing. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next episode.